Hi YouTube, how are you doing? I'm doing okay. I thought I'd come in part of my kitchen and um I tried different lighting places in my room, putting the camera where it would be, you know, better than what I was doing. I think I found a spot in my room, but I have to, which is like my living room. I've got a lounge chair in there and stuff because that's my sanctuary. I'm taking a somewhat of a sabbatical. Just as far as from the world, I'm just worried about not worried, I'm concerned for myself for one time in my life. So anyway, um, yeah, I have to distance myself from people that I care about, but they're not worried about their health and I am about mine because not that I'm feeling weak like that. Yeah, I'm getting older, but I don't want any trauma and drama in my life anymore. I'm just sick of the baloney. Like I tried to point out to this one, I think this person, a friend of a friend, is like probably 50 or so. Not not implying whether it's a male or female or the age that would matter. It was on a post that was talking about the stuff in the scriptures, like people don't want to follow any religion or a God that believes like this, and I do believe it was like Matthew 4:9, or I'm not sure, 4:49. I can't remember. I saw it, I glanced over it, and then I commented to this guy that was saying that basically there was nothing wrong with it. And I found out that calling somebody a dimwit isn't, well, it's a trigger word, I guess, for people that will still follow the conditioning of pedophilia through churches and the control mechanisms that they use with all that and everything. Excuse me one moment. But yeah, um, yeah, he wasn't too happy with me. He called my mother names, and I agreed with him. I said most people. So anyway. Yeah, I just pointed out that the part that it said in the scriptures about to kill disobedient children um, isn't really maybe a scripture that I'd want to follow because it's all twisted and they don't know the right definitions because they're following basically Zionism and these new evangelists and a lot of the Christians. It's the same as Judaism. And there is a synagogue connection with the satanic. Okay, I can't say for sure if it's the satanic church. Satanism and Judaism are connected, and I know that from um, being raised by people like that. So, you know, anyway, but yeah, I upset this guy, and good. I told him you may want to reread that. You know, there was a whole list of stuff, but when it says kill disobedient children, that's a little bit extreme, you know. I'm not liking either one of my adult sons, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna like even when they were little and they were acting nasty. I still didn't want to kill them, you know. Whatever God wants to do with them, whatever, you know. that's that's on them. I can't be concerned about that anymore, you know. some of us deserve some trauma-free stuff in our life, maybe some happy days, like, most of my life, and it wasn't that I was just with the wrong people, it's that the forces of darkness would work against me no matter where I was. I could be at a barbecue or a picnic or some event or whatever it was, and something vile or rude or some weirdness every time. Hardly ever failed. And I socialized a lot in my life up until just a while ago. I was like, no more, no more. I started telling people to leave. Well, actually, I kicked a lot of people out of here when I first moved in, and then I helped pay for the house. But I had my own house when I moved here, so it wasn't like um, I hadn't accomplished my own or even after that. But yeah. So anyway, that's still not the point. The point is what I'm talking about today is having time for myself in my life without people that don't realize, maybe they really don't understand, but they do. The the drama and the trauma that they have in their life. See, I know I've been through similar situations as people, but I handled it differently. And well, this put it this way, I'm not surrounded, I'm related to people that do strange and weird things and traumatic and dramatic, and I just can't take it anymore. It's no more, you know. So anyway, and that's a hard decision to make, whether or not they still want to, like, I'm open to, like, talking on posts on Facebook in public, but not in private message. So I wasn't respected or honored, um, valued or cherished that you'd think. And they could try and paint a person as a less worthy or um, like they did something that caused them to be a bad person or whatever. If you're a parent and your kids whacked in this society the way it is, then you understand what I'm talking about. Hope you understand that cord up there. We're working on our electric. Yeah. Doug put in some new lines and remodeling different places in this old house, so a little bit at a time here and there. We have materials for a greenhouse, sunroom slash greenhouse that we hope to get done. We didn't have enough time. Winter hit. We got all the lumber and um, windows lined up for it and everything, and glass, thick panes of just glass. But I want to get a sunroof. I don't want the entire roof open because it would get way too hot. It's on the east side of the house with southern and northern exposure, so it's going to have a lot of sunlight. I just want to be able to look out at the stars at night, so that'd be cool. So anyway, or somewhere in my house, I want to put a sunroom or a sunroom, a roof. What do you call them? Not yeah, sun roof, a window, sun. I'll think of it. I've only looked at them online and everything. It escapes me right now. I can't think of it. So, yeah, anyway, cheers, everybody. So yeah, I can't be the only person going through this, and it's not, when they were like in their 20s and whatever, you always have hope for people, and there's still hope, don't get me wrong. I just can't wait around to see that um come into play because I've just been around too much of it, and people that are impulsive and thoughtless and that type of thing. I wouldn't even want my animals around people like that because thoughtless people do heinous things mindlessly, you know? So sad but true. And it's not the first time. It's like, and these people that do, and if I told you the stuff, it doesn't even matter at this point, but it's unacceptable things, intolerable, not normal, that type of weird stuff that they expect me to accept just because they're blood relatives. And I've even my adopted ones, all my blood relatives, everybody, I barely talk to any of them, and I haven't seen many of them for decades. My blood family, I didn't even know till I was like 36 years old. So, you know, it's not like I'm really close to anybody, I don't trust anyone. They have to earn that. There's a few that I can rely on, and I trust them with my life, but not my soul. If that makes sense. I have some really good neighbors that are in the same mindset I'm in. Then I have others that aren't, but we're out in the country, so we're separated from the neighbors far enough usually, unless they invade our space, which they do once in a while. Space Invaders. Do you remember that? I think it was a Atari game, maybe. I used to play this one. Was a, or was it? I think it was maybe that was Space Invaders. But there's one bar I used to go to, and it was really funny because I had written this song called the Judith Gap Blues, and went into this little bar and played it for everybody in this town of like, I think there was 500 of us, and we worked at a sawmill or the store or a couple other. That's all there were like the post office and a couple churches, two bars and a store and the sawmill, But I wrote this song and went up there and sang it to them, and they weren't, some of them thought it was pretty funny, to be honest, and I did it entirely on purpose because when you're in a small town and all they have to do in their lives is drink for entertainment or whatever, that type of environment. And it's never really, although at times I made it my thing, um, one time to actually get tougher in my life, if that makes any sense. But, and it did to me at the time, and I was right too, because being being aggressive was never my intent or my nature. So, and now that they brought it out in me, you know, but they don't like that, especially men, you know. It's like, well, if you're going to keep poking the bear, you know, Just leave things alone, but that's not good enough for some of these people, you know. I was watching one channel that I just ran across, and they were talking about, you know, getting up if you're bleeding out of your nose and whatever or whatever. Even like I had some broken ribs one time, you know, fighting through the pain. Now that one was, I had to get escape or I would have died with the broken ribs. But um, yeah, when you're injured, getting back up is the most important thing, you know, and fighting through the pain so you don't die, you know. So yeah, you don't really have a choice. Well, you have a choice. You can lay there and let somebody brutalize you, or you can try and escape, or the best thing you can do is try and escape or never get in an altercation to begin with. But, you know, it hasn't been my road or blessings not to be confronted with monsters. So I had to deal with it the only way I could, you know. So, but I'm sick of it. You know, I mean, I'll spar in my life. I don't have a problem. Um, I'm just not going to spar with somebody that's retarded and have ill intent in their mind. You know, I don't have a problem. Like we start out, hey, who's gonna who's gonna strike and where are you gonna go with that and how are we gonna get each other or block each other or what? You know, um, I don't have a problem. But I do have a problem when these people, and I've seen it in dojos where people get all, they sort of lose it too. You gotta be with yourself, and um, you get a different insight on another person's inner being when they're not all there. When you're in combat, it's, you know, hand to hand mortal combat. um, if they actually start something, you do have an inner insight and extra strength that you can draw off of their dishonor. It's like you just absorb it like Highlander, you know, if you know what that is. They chop their head off and then they wait for the power, you know. It's pretty much what's going on with this spiritual war that we're all in, you know. Yeah, and excuse my phone. Although I do have a cell phone, um, and but I don't have it turned on. It's hard for us to get any cell service. We're down kind of in a valley and trees all around, so even to get a satellite dish to work is it was really difficult and more expensive. So we still have our landline that's ran off the satellite dish, although our fiber optics should be in this summer sometime, I do believe. Then it's supposed to be so much quicker and all this stuff. So we'll see, you know. Anyway, so I hope I could encourage some of you that even have like maybe even teenagers or little people that are upset in this world, you know. No, if you know you have a good heart, it isn't you, it's everything else that's conditioning, continuously conditioning the new generations, specifically designed to annihilate that generation. So, and the dark forces always talking to your little child, no matter how little they are. Um, they still have that inner silence knowing, or they have that loud naughty type of intervening, but you just keep remembering that these forces are always a struggle inside your child, if you can keep that in mind. And it's hard to do, especially when you have to separate yourself from your own kid or kids, you know. Um, I've heard countless stories of people that thought they were living the fairy tale life, and it just isn't what we've all been taught, not like that. I'm not talking about, I don't believe in not having a family or whatever, or that type of thing. I'm just talking about the difficulties within our world and, you know, directed at our kids constantly. And of course, whenever I intervene in a situation that's part of their power play, and I get right down to the heart of the matter, having known the agenda since I was 15, so I've put a lot of time and thought into the issues that they're going to use against us, that type of thing. So when I point something out to a lot of people, they get rather upset, especially if they've also worked on their schemes for a very long time and it didn't turn out for them the way they wanted it to. So I do have a lot of opposition out there. It's not your typical, um, I'm not typical like that. Yeah, I hope that it becomes more typical, ladies, being strong. I'm not talking combative or fighting, and um, bless you all. I hope nothing ever happens to anybody like that. I'm just talking about um, speaking your mind, and don't worry about what anybody thinks, because if you're traveling with a good heart, you're going to make enemies that don't want to value that, because they have ways about them that you're so separate in thought and personalities that you can't really correlate, you know. Um, and like I've always said, if they leave you more um, drained and unhappy by spending time with them, then you have to judge and determine, is this actually even worth it? Uh, I did that with my parents when I was young, my adopted brother, everybody I've met. The first time you walk away from somebody you love or kick them out, um, it's heartbreaking, but you did that for your own self-preservation. And if they're not caring about preserving you, you have to care about yourself, you know. And the old thing, and it is painful, nobody's coming to save you. Well, maybe. Depends on who your friends are and where you are, because if you were getting hurt around me, I'm going to save you, you know. But I just was hoping somebody would do that for me someday, Here I am, Supergirl, or whoever, like a true warrior. I had a couple friends try to stand up to narcissists and bullies and stuff like that. And it isn't that they didn't have the statue or the build to combat. It's the nature that they were conditioned to operate on another wavelength like that, being submissive and just doing what you're told because you were trained that way. So So yeah, in their hearts they were fighters, but they weren't raised um, with combat skills and um, the education that it takes to go up against demonic forces, you know, that we meet. A lot of them are Christian channel leaders that are using the rewritten handbook as a guide to make money, and that's all it is. And that's why I'm really into the ancient Greek. I've always been more into the Greek, but the ancient gives you a whole nother level of understanding what actually those scriptures say, you know. So I'm hoping to learn more about that. I'm starting to recognize words and how they're put together and that type of thing in ancient Greek. So, and I'm just like, what is it? Book 5, maybe the third, what did he call it? Are they lessons? I don't know. I'd have to have a refresher. He took a hiatus. He's on a little bit of a vacation, and I don't blame him. He had some um, heavy, heavy stuff that he's trying to get out to let people know. And who I mean by he is Alman Hillman has a very long story in his education and educating others, and yeah, and how the Catholic Church tried to bring him down for exposing them deeper than anybody I've ever seen, except for me when I was in a Catholic girls' school. I never heard anybody confront them like that with their um ugh, all of it, all of it. If you know anything about it, I mean, yeah, ah, all major religions are connected. Period. You know. So if people want to argue whose God is best, it's all the same thing. No matter what anybody says, if you're praising that higher power, that's who that is, period. No matter what anybody says, so who fucking cares, right? We didn't create ourselves. There you go. Have at it if you want to bow or get on your knees or whatever you want to do. Who really cares, you know? So, yeah. So I hope everybody is okay out there, and even the son that I can't let access to me, sons, both of them, I can't have them around me anymore, and I'm sure I'm going to be called names or whatever they want to do into their future. They're going to be doing it without me. So that's the decision that I've made. I have to. I can't be around people of the criminal mindset, um, con souls, and counsel them. I'm actually opening my door for abuse. And even if I did deserve it, who are they? You know. So yeah. You have to make that decision for yourself with anybody in your life that's uh of the abusive nature. For the weak people have a tendency to demean other people by way of well, even their listening skills lack. They're not very intelligent. They're actually dim wits, you know. I mean, they have highly intelligent aspects that they use in the wrong direction, so whatever. I had little kids reading and writing at 3 and 4, and talking when it was um, unnaturally possible, just from my endurance with teaching. So, anyway, I shouldn't have taught them language skills so well. Anyway. Well, I'm going to get this uploaded. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Um, I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.